systems, so countries can build forward better. So I'll just quickly run you through the session outline, and then we can get started. We will start with a brief introduction by Dr. Candice Morkel, who is the director at CLEAR-AA. She will talk about the value proposition of our NECD work as well as CLEAR-AA's work in the region. Then we have Ms. Banele, who will provide an overview of CLEAR-AA's country work in some of the countries in the region, for example, Botswana, Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, and Liberia. Then we have Mr. Urs Nagel, Regional Evaluation Advisor at UNICEF Eastern and Southern Africa, who will shed some light on CLEAR-AA's partnership with UNICEF on building national evaluation systems in the region, the nature of our collaboration, what have been some of the outcomes, and so on. Then we have 5 country presenters who are going to speak to NECD situations in their respective countries, their engagement with CLEAR on this, and what have been some of the outcomes. We will, after the 5 speakers have spoken, we will have some time for Q&A, and then we will close the session. For the country presenters, we have allocated 10 minutes each. So, please try to stay within that time limit. If you're about to go over, I'll have to come in and interrupt, just so that there's enough time for the speakers that are going to come after you, speak after you. And if you stay within the 10-minute time frame, perhaps we can also take some questions along the way that may be directed at you specifically. Other than that, I would like to request that all participants mute their mics when you're not speaking. And if you have any questions as the session is ongoing, please feel free to add your questions in the chat box, and we will try our best to respond to them as we go along. I can see that we have 33 participants in total now, and we have quite a few participants already introducing themselves in the chat box. So perhaps we can, perhaps now is a good time to get started. So I'd like to invite Dr. Candice Morkel, who is the director at CLEAR, to speak briefly about the value proposition of our NECD work and CLEAR-AA's work. Candice, over to you.
Thank you so much, Biko, and good morning, everybody. It's really wonderful to be in the same room with, of course, our UNICEF partners, but our government partners from the different countries. And so a warm welcome to everybody as well. It's quite a treat to have this conversation today, and I'm quite excited to learn and to share about our partnership together. And I think that's the most important part that I want to share with you this morning, just in 2 minutes, about why it's important for us to have a partnership. And because particularly we're talking about how do we ensure that countries are more resilient to be better prepared to build back better, because of course we have the pandemic crisis, which is hitting all of our countries really hard, and especially in developing countries. And why is it so important for us to have these kinds of partnerships towards building better systems for evidence-based decision-making? And so that's really the nature of the partnership that I can say between UNICEF and CLEAR-AA. In some areas of our work, there are, areas where we can add value if we're working together, and that is what kind of began the partnership and the discussion around the partnership. But how can we strengthen developing countries to have better, more resilient systems to monitor and to evaluate the development outcomes in order to ensure that we course correct and have programs that really speak to the development concerns that are facing us and the crises that are facing us. So just to get into who CLEAR-AA is and who I am, I'm the director of the CLEAR Anglophone Africa Center. But the CLEAR initiative is actually a global multilateral partnership which is aimed at strengthening countries' capacities, and it really focuses on results and it focuses on evidence-based decision making. And that is the largest part of the work that we do. CLEAR Anglophone Africa works in, of course, English-speaking Africa, but there are other centers. So I see there are some colleagues from CLEAR Francophone Africa in the session today as well. So hello to you. The CLEAR FA Center is based in Senegal. We've got centers in Mexico, India, China, Brazil. And we are actually implementing partners of a new initiative called the Global Evaluation Initiative, which is also part of a broader global partnership that brings together governments, it brings together citizens, development partners, and other experts. And part of its whole vision and initiative is also to strengthen countries' capacity to evaluate and build monitoring systems and capacities, all focused on improving our ability to actually achieve the development outcomes and results that our countries in what we call the global south are really grappling with, and particularly in the light of the crises that are facing us, the pandemic, but then also the crisis, the climate crisis, and the crisis of the Anthropocene, so to speak. But I'm going to actually hand over to Banela Maselela, who is actually going to talk about more the detail of the partnership. And so with that said, if there are any questions about who CLEAR-AA is or the partnership, I could come back on when there are the questions and the answer sessions. So thank you so much. Let me hand over to Banele. Thank you, Bikul. Perhaps I should hand over to you as the moderator first. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Candice, for a great start. So yes, as you said, we are going to have Banalele come in and provide a quick overview of CLEAR-AA's country work, especially in Botswana, Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, and Liberia. A quick introduction to Banalele. She's a researcher at CLEAR-AA and a PhD candidate at the University of Johannesburg at the Department of Sociology. Her research interests are in the field of social policy, women and children. Welcome, Banalele. Over to you. Banale, are you there?
I think she may have dropped off the call. I don't see her name on the list anymore.
Ah, okay. So
yeah, I also noticed that she's dropped off. And so I don't know if maybe we can take some of the other speakers and see if she can come back. I'll try to text her in the meanwhile. Thanks, Biko.
All right, sounds good. So perhaps
probably I can jump on.
Okay, yeah, come on, yeah, please, Taku, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Biko. I'm just trying to find the information she was going to share. If perhaps, Candice, you have got the slides, you can just pin them, then I'll speak to that.
Okay, let me do that.
In the meanwhile, I see that many participants are introducing themselves in the chat room, which is great. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have, there wasn't time for the participants to introduce themselves during the session. So please continue to, introduce yourselves in the chat so that we know who all is online. I can see that the slides are on now. So Taku, go ahead.
Thanks, Biku, and good morning to everyone. So I'll speak to the CLEAR-AA programs. As the center has got 5 programs which contribute to the strengthening of M&E systems across English-speaking countries and sometimes across Francophone countries through our partnership with CLEAR-FA in Senegal. So we've got the evaluation systems, which is responsible for creating and nurturing partnerships for strengthening monitoring and evaluation in English-speaking countries. It is responsible for our country programs. And we've got capacity strengthening, which is responsible for establishing M&E curriculum and also providing training and other technical assistance in order to build capacity of individuals and institutions. And from there, we have strengthening legislatures, which is responsible for providing capacity to parliaments so that they are able to grapple with evidence use, be it evidence from monitoring, evaluation, and research in making decisions and policy making. And we also have the operations, which is responsible for making sure that the organization's work goes smoothly. And it also has a project management unit as well. And from research and learning, which cuts across the CLEAR-AA programmatic area, a business line which is responsible for codification of lessons, research articles, policies, blogs, particularly focusing on lessons that are coming from the work that all these programmatic areas are providing. And their flagship program is the AFRED database, which we can also share on the link, which houses a number of research, of evaluation research, evaluation reports, thesis from PhD and masters focusing on monitoring and evaluation. We can post that that link in the chat. So these business lines are the ones that really drive the center in terms of strengthening M&E across English-speaking countries through our country programs. You can go to the next slide. And in terms of the country engagement, we have what we call countries where we go very much in depth. And these countries, as you can see on the diagram there, these are intensive. And this is informed by the monitoring and evaluation situation analysis, which we have done in quite a number of countries, including Malawi, Uganda, Liberia, Tanzania, Zambia, and the MISA naturally leads into the M&E capacity strengthening strategy, which identifies a number of key interventions which are needed for a country to improve its monitoring and evaluation system. Like I said, the business lines which animates CLEAR-AA are the ones that then put in or implement these strategies or interventions that are as a result of the MISA. And within the bounded, these are just discrete kind of interventions which are once off, and they are meant to address a particular problem within a country. And this is some of the work that we are also doing with UNICEF, ISARO, including reviewing of policies, of guidelines, creation of M&E curriculum, and also offering that curriculum. And apart from that, this kind of work, which is bounded and intensive, being informed by the MISA, makes us able to elicit some information that we turn into research, and we also disseminate that in products like laying notes, like policy briefs, like blogs, and so on. And of course, there are other kind of work that we do which are not geographically specific, like our data, like our MOOCs, and so on. So that's the kind of approach that we have when we provide monitoring and evaluation capacity strengthening in English-speaking countries and sometimes in Francophone countries through CLEAR-AA. Can we go to the next? So in terms of partners, partners are really an important ingredient for the work that we do at CLEAR-AA. We've got partners that facilitate access to evaluation capacity development ecosystems. One can think of AFRIA, one can think of UNICEF, UNDP, VOPs like Tanzania Evaluation Association, African Development Bank, UpNode, and one also thinks of partners like those who support the ECD and the co-creation of national evaluation system or monitoring and evaluation systems, like UNICEF itself, like Office of the Prime Minister in Uganda, like POPSMGG in Tanzania, like the M&E department in Liberia, and so on. And in terms of those who disseminate ECD knowledge and learning, we have got the Global Evaluation Initiative, we've got the Twentempele, we've got different VOPs, we've got AFRIA and other CLEAR centers. And in terms of those who expand the CLEAR footprint, indeed, the UN agencies are very much important to this, the UNICEF, the UNDP, the WFP, and those who require our services. We've been doing some work in Kenya, we've been doing some work with TETA in Samoa, and of course the work that we did with UNICEF Malaysia through the University of Malay. So these are the partners that we are working with, and they have got different roles and responsibilities when it comes to working in these countries. We can move on to the next one. So in terms of the countries that are not going to be showcasing the work that they are doing, we've got Uganda. We've established a monitoring and evaluation situation analysis, and a strategy has been developed, and some of the activities that will be implemented include the National Evaluation Agenda that structures and systematizes how the evaluation practice will be undertaken in Uganda, and the capacity development and the skills training is another one. Then in terms of Madagascar, which is under the PCA, where we are working with the CLEAR-FA, already there is capacity development through the 5-day monitoring and evaluation course, which has been delivered right now. Then also the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy and the Guidelines. In terms of Lesotho, which is also supported by the PCA, there is a development and offering of an M&E curriculum. Already one cohort of trainees have been done, and then we are going to offer another training to the second cohort and ultimately develop the national monitoring and evaluation policy. And in Namibia, these activities are not yet been finalized by the National Planning Commission, which have got the oversight for public sector monitoring and evaluation in Namibia. But it does include evidence-based making course for parliament and the development of an M&E database and so on. So these are the countries that are not going to showcase, but I thought maybe it's noble that we just talk to what they are doing. So with that, Biku, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Taku, for a great overview of CLEAR's work. And as you mentioned, CLEAR is working with many partners in the region, and one of those is UNICEF. And UNICEF is also working with CLEAR in several of those countries that you just mentioned. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Urs Nagel, who is the Regional Evaluation Advisor at UNICEF Eastern and Southern Africa Regional Office, to briefly talk about CLEAR-AA, UNICEF, and UNICEF's partnership and delivery approach during COVID-19. Over to you, Urs. Hello.
Urs, I think there may be some connection issues. Do you mind can everyone switch off their cameras? I think that might help strengthen the bandwidth. Thank you.
All right, so should I go ahead? Because I didn't hear the last of what Bikul said.
No, I was just introducing you. So
Okay,
yes,
okay,
go
great.
ahead.
Great. So thank you, Bikul, for the introduction. Thank you also, Candice and Taku, for your outline of some of the issues we're going to be covering today, as well as for describing the partnership that we will be talking about a little bit today as well. So good morning, colleagues across wherever you've logged in from. Good morning from UNICEF's Regional Office for Eastern and Southern Africa. So I will add a few thoughts from a UNICEF perspective on our partnership with CLEAR, particularly in the Eastern and Southern Africa region. As many of you may be aware, the UN has an explicit mandate through a number of global level resolutions to support member states of the UN in strengthening their national evaluation systems, including the conduct and use of evaluation. UNICEF has been strongly supportive of these resolutions. We believe that national partners, and this could include government, parliament, civil society organizations, such as evaluation associations or evaluation societies, as well as academia, that they really need to be in the driving seat when it comes to evaluation of national policies and programs. And as we've been hearing already, the idea really is that this could help strengthen accountability for public policies, strengthening learning to improve policies and programs going forward, not least with a view to staying on track to achieve the SDGs. We believe that we found in CLEAR a partner with considerable experience and expertise in strengthening national evaluation capacity development. And they also share our vision, as we've already heard, in particular from Taku just now, that in talking about capacity, it's important not only to address the capacities of individuals, whether, for example, officials in government ministries or members of evaluation associations or consultants who conduct evaluations, but also to look at the institutional frameworks for evaluation, as well as the broader enabling context, enabling environment, such as national evaluation systems, policies, and strategies. From UNICEF's side, at the national level, we work closely with different line ministries in our day-to-day work, as well as with civil society partners. So we're often aware of interest in evaluation, but we also use our engagement to advocate for more and for better evaluations. As such, our work provides us with entry points to discuss evidence-based policy making and programming, and to explore ways in which to strengthen the role of evaluation in a particular national context. And so then when concrete interest crystallizes, we then also try to include CLEAR, bring CLEAR into the discussion and work with them to address particular requests, particular needs at the country office, the country level. I think we already heard a little bit about countries in which we work with CLEAR to support national evaluation capacity development: Botswana, Burundi, Kenya, Lesotho, Madagascar, Mozambique, Namibia, Zambia. And this has included a number of those issues that Taku talked about, or a number of initiatives that Taku talked about, and we're going to be hearing about more later on, so I will not repeat any of that. But maybe just to also mention another strand of this partnership, which is focused on supporting countries in strengthening the evidence base of VNRs, of voluntary national reviews. And I think we've done work on this in Angola, Madagascar, Namibia, Zimbabwe. Hopefully I haven't missed anyone. One area we've been particularly pleased about in this partnership has also been the ability of CLEAR-AA to source experts with Francophone and Lusophone language skills through the other CLEAR centers around the world. And so they've been able to draw on expertise that has not only been grounded in Eastern and Southern Africa, but has also built on considerable global expertise in other language contexts. We feel that through the partnership with CLEAR, we've already started making a tangible contribution to stronger national evaluation capacities across the Eastern and Southern Africa region. And we're keen to continue our work with CLEAR in the countries mentioned previously, but we're also looking to expand the partnership further in countries which are showing a growing interest in strengthening their national evaluation systems and capacity. So this is as much as I will say at this point. I look forward to hearing from some of the countries we've been working with later in the session. And of course, we'll also be providing contacts if anyone would like more information about the partnership or is interested in exploring how we can work together to further strengthen evaluation capacities in other national contexts. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Urs. Thank you very much. So at this point, we were hoping to do a quick Q&A with the participants and UNICEF plus CLEAR, but seeing that we have a tight agenda and we are already running 5 minutes late, perhaps it's better to have the country presenters speak at this point. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 5 country presenters who are going to speak with 10 minutes each, and they will talk about NECD in their unique contexts. So first up is Dr. Francis, who will speak about NECD in the Tanzania context. Dr. Francis is a senior lecturer of public policy and social science research at Mazumbe University, Tanzania, where he has where his career development has been nurtured for 29 years. He's also the chairman of the Tanzania Evaluation Association. So, Dr. Francis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nicole. And thank you for the introductory remarks by Dr. Candice and Urs. I have only 10 minutes, so allow me to speak not using the slides because of the limited time. I would really present my my presentation on the situation of M&E in Tanzania. I'll describe the activities that we have done in collaboration with CLEAR-AA. I would also like to speak of the activities that we've done with UNICEF, CLEAR, and TANEA, tripartite. And in between, possibly, I would also give the reflection of what we experienced and the way forward. Just to give a situation of M&E in Tanzania. It is true that monitoring and evaluation is an emerging discipline, practice, but it is also true that in Tanzania, we have done some groundwork, particularly on the monitoring from our development frameworks that we had over time. So if I have to say on the M&E framework, that possibly we have the structures. We have the institutional structures that are from the ministries. We have for the M&E placed under the Directorate of Policy and Planning. Nevertheless, that structure is at the higher level. When it goes to down or local government, where the implementation is done, this structure doesn't seem to be visible. So mostly you would find that the monitoring and evaluation functions in the local government are appended to departments of planning. Now, the monitoring and evaluation are given a very small portion in the activities of those departments. And mostly, you would find that it is only the monitoring that is more pronounced, features mostly, and the evaluation is neglected. So that is in terms of structure, let alone in terms of funding, that the funding is inadequate, and for some reasons, in some places, it is not even available. So that gives us, without saying that evaluation is not given any prominence. So to speak, from there, I should now get us what has been our entry point. Tanzania Evaluation Association, as a BOPE, is now promoting the evaluation. So it's, we are promoting the national evaluation capacity development, even on the situation that I've just described, on the weakness of it. So what have we done, given the shortest time that I have? We have worked with CLEAR, based on the situation on analysis that it was conducted with CLEAR, that CLEAR aimed at strengthening the national monitoring and evaluation ecosystem in Tanzania. That came as a project in 2019. When the idea was conceived in October 2019. So CLEAR had to come up with 5 projects that could have, if it was implemented fully, it could have contributed to the national evaluation capacity development. Unfortunately, CLEAR has the working framework, which required them to go through the government, and unfortunately, the government has also its own framework for engaging or working with external agencies. So it has been a challenge that, as we speak, from 2019, 2020 had gone without implementing the projects with the government, let alone the challenge of COVID. But there are also some institutional and structural problems that the government could not approve the project. And therefore, the channeling of funds through the government that would have been used for the implementation, that couldn't take place. Nevertheless, there was a project that CLEAR had to work directly with Tanea, and that is a BOPE, that had taken place. So at least 2 projects that we have worked directly with CLEAR. One was developing the Tanea communication and visibility strategy, which was a wonderful job done by CLEAR, and we thank very much for the support that was given, and it was completed successfully. Also, we worked with CLEAR on the training of trainers for parliamentary monitoring and evaluation oversight. This was aimed at to build the capacity of Tanzania to have some core staff, some core professionals that would really be engaged on the strengthening the parliamentary oversight. So what I'm saying from this reflection, that the projects that we have worked directly with CLEAR, it has been successful. But the projects that had to go through government, it has been challenging, and we haven't been able to implement the projects. So working with UNICEF, I will thank UNICEF Tanzania that has worked with Tanzania on strengthening exploration capacity development on a number of issues. One of the issues that we have been working together with the player was to have a tripartite meeting. We had a tripartite meeting with the player, and thank Dr. Taku for having this. We had Ong of UNICEF, and Diego would be coming in, certainly would join us in promoting what we started but we haven't accomplished. So it's a way forward, but we should be looking forward on strengthening the national evaluation capacity development. It's a tripartite relationship between UNICEF, CLEAR, and TANEA. Is on the parliamentary monitoring and evaluation oversight capacity development that we haven't really figured it out. But two is on the national evaluation policy, which we have started working with support of UNICEF. Nevertheless, we are not yet there. Tanzania doesn't have a national evaluation policy. We have been working, we are advocating for that. We are at some point, but we are not there. And another area is on the internal capacity of Tanzania, that we need to have the strongest evaluation capacity within Tanzania. And one of the issues that we look forward is on the standards and the codes for evaluation, because there has been a challenge that in our country we are getting evaluators from outside the country, which is good, but we need also to develop the local capacity to produce credible evaluations. So that is an area that we look forward.
Dr. Francis?
Yes, my time is over, and I think I've also come to the end. I really thank you very much for giving me this. And because I said I have an emergency, so emergency trouble, so I would possibly stay shortly. Then I wish you all the best in these deliberations, and send us the recording. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Francis. I think the sound quality was a bit off, but I think the content of your presentation was very interesting. It's really great to hear that Tania's work with CLEAR and UNICEF over the past year have turned out quite well, while the work with the government has faced some delays, which I think is quite understandable in the current COVID-19 situation, where government's main focus all over the world has been the response itself. So with that, and a huge thanks to Dr. Francis, I would like to invite the next speaker, who is none other than Mr. Kape Machao. He's the M&E technical specialist at UNICEF Botswana. He has considerable experience in the M&E of health systems and has worked extensively with National AIDS Coordinating Agency and Ministry of Health in developing strategic plans and building research, surveillance, and M&E capacity. So Kape will walk us through the NECD work that's happening in Botswana. Kape, over to you.
Thank you, Bikul, and good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you're very audible.
Okay, perfect. Like most countries in sub-Saharan Africa, I think M&E in Botswana has previously suffered from being fractured, siloed, duplicative, uncoordinated, and mostly donor and project driven. And of course, primarily focusing on monitoring with little or no evaluation being conducted. So to remedy these challenges, Botswana, I think, has been for the past several years, been putting together the necessary statutory instruments and structures to support the monitoring and evaluation system. Chief among these instruments include the Performance Monitoring and Evaluation Policy, which was approved by Cabinet in 2017. The performance framework that's being used to monitor the National Development Plan 11, and a performance M&E manual that outlines and puts into context the how-to of M&E in Botswana. These efforts have been led by the National Strategy Office, which is tasked with implementation of the National Monitoring and Evaluation System, and supporting line ministries and linking their strategic plans to NDP 11, the National Development Plan, so that they contribute to the realization of the key results area that are identified in the national plan. In terms of next steps of implementation of the National Monitoring Evaluation System, NSO is interested in or will be formulating a national evaluation plan, compiling annual progress report on the implementation of the National Development Plan 11, as well as finalizing the core ministerial indicators as planned. Different streams in the government have been set up to assist with implementation. These streams include a capacity building stream, a data management stream, and a change management stream, and so forth. So all of this ongoing work, or the effort that government has been putting into M&E, has presented a perfect opportunity to support the government. And this is where I think development partners can lend their knowledge and expertise to drive this work further. So UNICEF Botswana, in terms of supporting the implementation of the National Monitoring and Evaluation System, then through this NECD work, when considering who to collaborate with, thought that the NSO would be a perfect partner to collaborate with, in particular, the Division of National Performance. So we began our talks at the technical level with NSO from August 2019, proposing activities we considered would push the evaluation agenda forward. These conversations continued, and when CLEAR-AA came into partnership, we began to discuss alignment of activities with what the government had already planned, and then we made adjustments to align our activities with what government has planned. Finally, after much back and forth, we got the green light at the beginning of this year to implement the agreed upon activities. So we will be doing an M&E capacity assessment. We'll be developing or helping the government develop a national evaluation agenda. And then finally, towards the end of the year, we hope to hold an evaluation advocacy event where we would love to involve the fledgling Botswana Association of M&E, or BAME for short. Reflecting on the activities so far in our experience, even though it might seem like it took a bit of time to get the National Strategy Office to approve these activities, in retrospect, it has allowed us to, one, build a relationship as well as complete understanding with NSO. It's allowed us to ensure that the activities we're proposing or that we intend on doing are aligned to government's plans. And most importantly, it has helped us get the best buy-in from senior management so that we have their full support when it comes to implementing these activities. I think it would be worth mentioning that sometimes government's hesitation with collaborating with development partners sometimes stems from not so pleasant experiences with development partners, sometimes over-promising and under-delivering. So because of these reputational risks, it's been very important for us to build trust, to build understanding, and also make sure that we're reassuring government our support in their work and our continued support of what they intend on doing. And it's not only just coming from our end of things. In terms of working with CLEAR-AA, our experience so far has been quite a positive one. CLEAR-AA brings a wealth of technical expertise and experience, and they are an important partner in the implementation of M&E and capacity development of the same. Not only that, but NSO is excited that they will be able to connect the Botswana Association of M&E with other M&E associations in the region and forge a relationship that will help propel the association forward. This is definitely the icing on the cake in terms of our partnership with CLEAR-AA, and we look forward to continuing the work as planned. So I will pause there for now, and we'll take your questions during the scheduled Q&A. Thank you very much.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Kapi. A very interesting experience of UNICEF Botswana engaging with the government there, building a true partnership with CLEAR's engagement to strengthening the national evaluation capacity systems there. So with that said, perhaps I will now invite the next speaker. So the next speaker is, sorry, I'm having some issue. Okay, is Miss Elizabeth, who is a population scientist, research evaluator, and lecturer of demography at the University of Zambia. So Elizabeth will speak with us about the Zambia experience vis-a-vis NECD. Elizabeth, over to you.
Thank you so much, Biko, and good morning, everyone, and hello to everyone where it may not be morning. I will share slides on the Zambia experience as far as M&E is concerned, and M&E systems where we are, and also the work that we've been doing with CLEAR-AA and UNICEF.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I hope you're able to see my slides. There's a lot to talk about. I hope I'll highlight some of the issues that are happening in Zambia as far as our national M&E system is concerned. As has been introduced, my name is Elizabeth Nyirenda Mtambo. I work with the University of Zambia, which houses the Monitoring and Evaluation Center of Excellence. So I'll start from a positive point of view before I go to the challenges. One of the key highlights in terms of what has been happening in Zambia is that we have a national monitoring and evaluation policy, which is a very great milestone in terms of development of M&E system. And this policy, together with its accompanying implementation plan, is aimed to have a result-oriented, evidence-based, well-coordinated and integrated, robust government-wide monitoring and evaluation system for improved development results. So this is a great milestone, and in it is contained various objectives of how government intends to correct some of the issues that have been identified as weaknesses in the M&E system in Zambia. Continuing with where we are in terms of the state of M&E, We have in the National Development Plan, the 7th National Development Plan, which is from 2017 to 2021 and is coming to an end this year. We have, for the first time in this National Development Plan, a whole chapter dedicated to M&E arrangements. This has not happened in the previous 4 national development plans that the country has had from as far as independence. We have also seen that most sector plans include a component of M&E, and we've seen establishment of M&E units in ministries and provinces, and also a growing membership and also a growing presence and visibility of the Zambia Monitoring and Evaluation Association. In terms of the challenges in the state of M&E in Zambia, there are inadequacies in capacity to effectively conduct the M&E function by most ministries, provinces, and even other spending agencies. We also have a situation where we have insufficient and inappropriately skilled M&E staff, and we also have lack of systems for generating data. One of the key challenges is also poor management of information to support the measurement of results in a more coordinated and effective way. So some of the activities that are taking place as a way of ameliorating those challenges include, which we are leading on and in partnership with CLEAR-AA and UNICEF. Some of the activities we're working on and also in coordination with government. As the University of Zambia Monitoring and Evaluation Center of Excellence, we have developed the postgraduate diploma in monitoring and evaluation, and currently we have the second cohort. The first offering of this diploma was last year, and this is a 1-year program. Before last year, the only training that was formal training that we had for the longest time, spanning as far back as 2006, was only a 2-week short course. That is under review with support from CLEAR-AA and UNICEF, and we have continued to offer this short course alongside the postgraduate diploma. Currently, we are developing a master's course because we have noticed that we've for a long time had lower level training, but we have continued to embark on developing higher level courses. Apart from the postgraduate diploma, we're developing the monitoring and evaluation master's program, where we'll include the course that we developed again in collaboration with CLEAR-AA, 3IE, and UNICEF. We developed this impact evaluation course, which was piloted earlier this year in February. We also are engaged in capacity building of different groups of people. We have mainstreamed M&E training and undergraduate demography training. We also do training of professional evaluators and government staff, and we hope that this will contribute to strengthening of professionalism of evaluation and create an enabling environment for use of M&E. We also leverage on many partnerships as the University of Zambia. We work with cooperating partners, and also the government does work with the University of Zambia and also work with other UN agencies apart from UNICEF. We have worked with CDC, and CDC was quite instrumental in helping us set up the Monitoring and Evaluation Center of Excellence, as well as to develop staff capacity to teach at various levels, as well as provide materials, as well as technical support in the establishment of the Monitoring and Evaluation Center of Excellence. Also, among key activities taking place is the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy Implementation Plan, which accompanies the National Population Policy, and this will be implemented from 2019 to 2020. Reflecting on the experiences that we've had so far in terms of our work in M&E, and our work spans across teaching, consultancy, as well as publications, we have noticed that evaluation is still largely donor and compliance driven. We have also noticed an increased demand for M&E skills. From a class of about 22 last year for the postgraduate diploma, we have a class of about 60 in this second cohort of the program. So this increased demand for skills is not only coming from our students, but also coming from government and other stakeholders. We have also noticed from our experience that demand for and use of evaluation results is quite low. And also there's a lot of focus more on monitoring, and there's limited capacity of local evaluators to do evaluation. Part of our experiences is from what we have, the working relationship we've had with CLEAR-AA, UNICEF, and 3IE is the leveraging of existing systems to build M&E capacity. This proved to work really well when CLEAR-AA and UNICEF identified the University of Zambia to develop the impact evaluation course, which was a gap in terms of evaluation capacity, because most of the evaluation knowledge ended at mostly doing process evaluations and other lower hierarchy evaluations, but we had very little knowledge on impact evaluation. So we have since developed materials for that, and we'll incorporate that in the master's program for monitoring and evaluation. Evaluation are also largely conducted by international persons for reasons I have mentioned. What do we expect from these activities that we are conducting or we have been doing? We expect that we'll have emerging evaluators with skills to carry out M&E functions, including evaluations. And from government efforts of the M&E policy, as well as the National Implementation Plan of 2019 to 2023, we expect that there will be an integrated government-wide M&E management information system. We expect increased human resource capacity to carry out M&E functions, and also standard reporting guidelines and harmonized indicators. We also expect that rather than having ad hoc activities for M&E, the activities will be more organized and less compliance driven. We also expect that we'll have programs that will be tailored towards industry needs, and will have sustained capacity building. We also hope that there will be strengthened professionalism of evaluation and an enabling environment for country-led evaluations. Moving forward, there's quite a lot that we have learned in our M&E work. We have learned that M&E partnerships do produce sustainable capacity building programs that are responsive to industry needs. A case in point is the impact evaluation course that was developed for and with the University of Zambia, with support from CLEAR-AA, UNICEF, and 3IE, and also the review of a short course that we're doing that is working very well, and we are anticipating a very good product from those partnerships. The leveraging of existing systems to build M&E capacity is also an excellent thing that we have learned. And not only does it strengthen the existing systems, but also makes the existing systems relevant to their spaces and relevant to changing the narrative of what's happening in their respective countries. We have also learned that the students, professionals, and government officials that are trained through our M&E capacity building are emerging as professional evaluators that become a huge resource for country experts. And that is good for skills in evaluation and also for in-country knowledge. And this pool of professionals who have M&E knowledge is a good pool that can work with external evaluators that are engaged in order to do skills transfer, as well as promote evaluation results use, as well as demand. So we have also learned as trainers that professionals, M&E professionals, need to have a wide skill set. And there's a lot of information that we have now. So there's a growing demand that M&E professionals should have increasing and frequently upskill their skills. And these skills should include visualization, data analysis, and many others. So I'll end here for now to work within the time. I hope I haven't gone beyond the 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Elizabeth, for a very interesting and very engaging presentation on the NECD landscape in Zambia, especially the important work that's happening there on the development and delivery of evaluation trainings through the University of Zambia. So thank you very much. So perhaps we can invite our next speaker now. So the next speaker is Ms. Sophie, who is currently director at the Ministry of Economic Planning, Development, and Public Sector Reforms in Malawi. She's a demographer with 20 years of service experience in key government ministries and departments in Malawi. So Ms. Sophie, welcome to the session, and please go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. I think listening to what Botswana and the Zambia has presented so far, I could say that the problem are almost the same. The key outstanding issues in M&E systems in this country, see the fragmented systems and also limited skills. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly, Ms. Sophie. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So for Malawi, we got support, technical as well as financial support from the CLEAR for the situation analysis because we are intending to strengthen. I can hear you. We are intending to strengthen. Hello?
Yes, sorry. Go ahead, please.
All right. We are intending to strengthening M&E system in the country. So in March 2021, we did the situation analysis. There are a number of issues that we have noted. We have the M&E system within the country, but they are operating in silos. Within the public sector as well as within the ministries. You can see that in one ministry there are 3 or 4 different kind of M&E systems. So we noted that we are lacking a regulatory framework that might assist in coordinating the M&E implementation by providing guidelines. But also the sectors, they do have the M&E frameworks, but the implementation of these frameworks are weak due to a number of reasons. It's either the M&E staff are not enough to do the work, or there's a limited or inadequate resources to implement the framework. On information management, there's also a problem. Information is just scattered. So it's also another area that we need to look into so that to enable accessibility of information by different users, especially should be at one central point. Utilization, it's not all that desirable. Information demand for decision-making or policy formulation, it's not that desirable. So this is also another area that we have noted, and we really need to improve. Capacity building, awareness, because sometimes you don't demand because you don't know. So awareness, it's also another weakness so far. So with the CLEAR, we have come up with the M&E capacity strengthening strategy. And we have outlined a number of interventions that will assist us in improving M&E systems in the country. Apart from having this, the strategy, there's also an interest from the government. We have reform program as a country, and the Vice President, who is also the minister for our ministry, is championing those reform programs. So institutionalization or development of a government-wide M&E system, it's one of the agendas that has been introduced for this current administration. So it seems like we have an opportunity of ensuring that the M&E system in the country has been improved. So as I indicated, we have developed the strategy. And we drafted the M&E policy, and right now we are in the process of finalizing this M&E policy. And we are hoping that once this is final, it will help us in the provision of information that is reliable, accurate, and also useful to the decision makers, because this policy is there to guide the management of M&E processes and also identify roles of different stakeholders, which at the end will ensure our strengthen coordination of M&E within government. We do have a technical working group, so we presented the strategy to the technical working group. We also presented the strategy to the donors. We targeted the UN data group and UN M&E technical advisory committee. So we gathered them together and we had a very fruitful meeting. And right now the discussions are still in the process, because we are now working on the development of the TORs for the diagnostic of the existing infrastructure, so that we should be able to develop, we call it a national harmonized management information system. Another area that I didn't mention on the situation analysis, it's on the evaluations. We tend to focus much on the monitoring. Evaluation is not being given much attention, especially by the government. So what we are planning to do is to institutionalize evaluation. We really need to have the evaluation plan, but also evaluation repository. On the part of, apart from being a reform agenda, but it has also been, the government-wide M&E system has also been, some funds has been allocated through the, we call it the public sector investment program. This is a project part when it comes to funding. So we have allocated some funds, although few, but at least it shows that the government is committed. We are just waiting for the government, the approval by the parliament, because right now the parliament is on discussing the budget. On the third point, what difference do we foresee based on these activities? We have seen that stakeholders are so excited with what we are planning to do. So they are looking forward for the coordinated and well-functioning monitoring and evaluation system. We are sure that once we have this system, at the end, we'll be able to have a good quality monitoring and evaluation information, but also will improve in the use of that information. The current administration is also much interested with the government-wide M&E system. And this system will assist we assist in creating an umbrella M&E system within which the existing systems will be coordinated and harmonized. And also government capacities to conduct and use of M&E information will be strengthened. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. We can see interest from development partners or different stakeholders, the heads of different ministries, as well as the executive part of the government. So the journey has just started, and the mindset change is another mountain to climb. Because for this, the intention is that this should be embedded in the day-to-day government operations. So for us to achieve that, we need mindset change. However, we can achieve that. Lessons learned. Last, just 1 point, 1 minute, lessons learned is the engagement. There is the need of engaging all relevant stakeholders. If we really need to achieve this, we need to engage all relevant stakeholders from the planning stage. And also we have to balance between a top-down guidance and the bottom-up expertise so that we create ownership at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sophie, for a very, very interesting presentation. I think it was especially useful to hear about M&E, NECD work that's happening from a government perspective. And it's also exciting all the different activities that you have ongoing at the moment. I mean, it seems very promising. So with that, I would like to invite the next speaker. But before that, I see that we are a bit short on time. So, you know, for the participants who can stay a bit longer, I would like to request that we close the session 10 minutes 10 minutes later than what was planned, so that there is enough time for our speakers to answer any questions that participants may have. So the next presenter is Mr. Jerry, who is the director at the National Monitoring and Evaluation Unit at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning at the Republic of Liberia. So, Mr. Jerry, please, over to you. Your mic seems to be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a lot to discuss, but because of time, I will try to stick within the 10 minutes. Unfortunately, I did not bring along the presentation, but I will send you later on after the event. And for the case of Liberia, we are beginning, I can tell you that. We have so much to do. But I will give you a little synopsis of what our M&E system is. Some of the things we are experiencing is very similar to that of Botswana. We have a government-wide kind of M&E system. We have a national development plan called the Proper Agenda for Development and Prosperity. We have that in place. So the government ministries are doing M&E work on the implementation of that plan, which is similar to that we have here in Botswana. Some of the data collection mechanisms are duplicated. Evaluations are more donor-driven. And we are trying to address that in such a way that we will be on course with our M&E goals. At the national level, we have, as I said, we have ministries and agencies, we call them, that are both operating from Monrovia and are spread out in the counties, which we can also call regions. Luckily for us, We have CLEAR coming in. In June 2020, we began some work with CLEAR to overhaul the entire system. What have we done with CLEAR specifically? CLEAR came in to help us do a country situation analysis of our M&E system, which was good. It was done at the national level and at the regional level. And the goal for that was to understand the system and see what it could do to help us in strengthening the system. That's what we did with CLEAR. And the findings are quite interesting. Findings are interesting because what we found at the national level is more or less similar to the regional level. And then we try to work on the issue of the capacity strengthening plan for our M&E system. As regards the issue of evaluation, which is the E part of the M, is completely out of order. Our M&E champions are not taking it as a culture. Evaluation is basically done by the donors from the projects, and very little is done at the national level or at the sub-national level in the countries. We do not have a system in place for generating data. Data is generated by everyone, everywhere they are implementing. And not to even talk about dissemination of the data finding. We don't have a data warehouse in place for to disseminate our data that we collect. And the second aspect is that we don't have a policy and a national M&E policy, because when a policy is in place, people will respect it. Donors or visitors will commit themselves to that. We don't have a national M&E policy in place yet. As I said, a lot needs to be done for us. We are kind of beginning. But we are learning lessons, actually. And our hope is that partnership is the way. Partnership will provide a lot of capacity strengthening and capacity building for us, as we have begun with the partnership we have with CLEAR. The other one is that you ask what lessons have we learned? We have learned some lessons. For example, when we administer the MISA tools, we learned that most of the decision makers didn't realize that M&E was a very integral part of decision making. So the M&E champion didn't actually grant much attention to decision making and M&E findings. That's one thing we learned. So M&E was just an activity that is practiced because it's required by donors. And as a result, evaluation also was not key on the M&E agenda. So a lot that we need to do. But we have hope. Our hope is that when we implement the capacity strengthening findings that have been identified by the MISA tool, I think we can get on board. We will get on board by doing that. But our challenge is, how do we go? We need capacity building. Capacity is limited among the M&E players. Then, as I told you, the issue of data collection is a serious challenge for us. We don't have a nationwide, we don't have a data warehouse that will consolidate our data and even disseminate for us to know what is happening, whether we are making progress or not. We don't have that. We attempted doing one, but because of funding, we're not able to afford the cost. So that is also on hold. It is also our hope, because in the capacity strengthening document that CLEAR prepared through its consultant, training is also important, because I heard you talking about University of Zambia is doing some M&E work in a master's degree and this and that. Most of the universities we have around town, the M&E assessment tool capture that. They are not doing training in M&E at all. M&E is not part of their part of their curriculum. It's not even part of the courses that they teach. So you can imagine the what we are in. However, we have an institution in Liberia called LIPA that does M&E training, but at a very minimum level. So the strategy teaches a lot of things that we're supposed to do to strengthen our M&E system in Liberia here. Moving forward, what lessons have we learned? As I said, major lesson we have learned is that our M&E system is in the rudimentary stage, and the way to move forward is to have support from partners. For example, UNICEF is supporting us one way or the other. They support our internal M&E system training that we do. They support that. They provide funding for that. And then when it comes to the issue of technical support and the rest of it, is our partnership with CLEAR and sometimes UNDP also help us. But strategically, the partnership that we have entered into with CLEAR shows us a strategic direction to follow. So we are hoping that they will continue that partnership so we can move forward. Do I still have time there? Hello, do I still have time?
Hello, sorry?
I was asking whether I'm above time because do I still have time? I have just two more things to say.
Yes, maybe one more minute.
Okay, so to conclude, again, our M&E system is a rudimentary one. We don't have a national policy for other people to follow when they come in the country. The M&E system is discrete. Everyone is doing everywhere. The things are duplicated. Evaluation is lacking. So there's a lot to be done to close. There's a lot to be done. I will detail that in my proposal and send it to you. In my presentation, I send it to you, but there's a lot to be done. But there is opportunity at the end of the tunnel, as I told you, by doing engagement with partners that are involved in M&E in our country, especially UNICEF, UNDP, and then of recent, CLEAR from the University of Wisconsin. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for that very, very interesting presentation and very vivid description of the challenges that exist currently in the M&E landscape in Liberia, and also which also applies to the other countries. So with that being said, now we move to the Q&A session, Q&A part of the session. We are behind time, but I hope like colleagues who can stay, I hope you will stay a bit longer, maybe 10 to 15 minutes more for this session. Before I invite questions, maybe I can do a quick overview of the session so far. So we started with Candice and Taku providing a brief description of the value proposition and overview of CLEAR's work in our region. Then we had Urs come in, talk about NECD work, especially UNICEF's partnership with CLEAR and what UNICEF is doing in this regard in collaboration with CLEAR. Then we had the 5 country speakers present, providing a very rich description of rich and diverse description of the M&E NECD work, in our region with varying perspectives. We started with Dr. Francis speaking about the Tanzania landscape, especially the work of the Tanzania M&E Association, providing that perspective of a civil society organization working in this space to support NECD. Then we had Kape coming in and talking about the work that UNICEF is doing there with the government to strengthen national M&E systems, providing us with more of a UN and donor perspective on how we are engaging in this space. Then we had the speaker from Zambia, who also provided a very rich description of the NECD landscape there, while emphasizing the work that's being done around developing and delivering M&E trainings through the University of Zambia. And then we had the two speakers from Malawi and Liberia, both of whom providing an insider's perspective on NECD from insider's government perspective, as both of them are part of the government there. So maybe I'll take a pause here and invite colleagues if you have any questions to any of the speakers or presenters. Please feel free to jump in.
Cool. I think there's a question, interesting question from Gordon Wanzare on the chat box. If you could read it out and maybe one of the presenters or other colleagues could answer.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a theme that kept reappearing in the presentations of the different speakers, which speaks to the lack of evaluation capacity at the local level. I think Gordon is questioning that assumption and asking, okay, what is our evidence for thinking that there's not sufficient local evaluation capacity and that we have to rely on international experts. Would any of the speakers be willing to take on this question?
Perhaps I could just kind of give my opinion and perspective, and then others can add as well. So I think that this is it's a single story, and I often talk about there's a story that there aren't enough evaluators, but then there's also a story that there actually are enough evaluators, or there is a critical mass of evaluators, but there is just not enough absorption in the market for those evaluators because of the way the system is structured. So people who are already in the system of providing evaluation services and they well known and they're well recognized for the quality of their work. Evaluation commissioners will tend to use the same group of evaluators that they're used to working with. And so maybe there's also another side of the story to say, how do we then allow the market to absorb new and emerging evaluators or people who are trying to get into the market and unable to get there? So I think that question is unanswered currently. I think there is an attempt by, for example, and not everybody's an emerging evaluator, but there is a group of evaluators who call themselves, or kind of a wave of emerging evaluators who have recognized this problem and say, how do we then gain access to, and those opportunities to actually provide evaluation service? So I really think that there is a problem there. I think that what we also need to do is, and I like what Gordon's saying about the repository or database of people who are able to provide evaluation services. So we have, as CLEAR-AA, have started something called the African Evaluation Database, and we are now in the third phase. So the database is a repository of evaluation products and also evaluation knowledge. Papers, grey literature, and so forth about evaluation on the African continent. And we are trying to expand that database as we go along. And one of the expansive kind of elements of it is this database of evaluators on the African continent. So we haven't done it yet. It's something which is part of the phase that we're entering into now. But I also do know that there is another organization that's doing work of a similar nature. But I don't think that they've completed their work. But I do recognize that this is something we need to start doing to also allow maybe the market to see that there isn't just this limited pool of evaluators. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Candice. I see that Elizabeth and Taku also have their hand up. So maybe, Miss Elizabeth, maybe you can go first.
Thank you so much. We have a similar situation in Zambia, and from the Zambian perspective, that seems to be the case the way Gordon has put it in terms of having limited human resource capacity in the tech evaluations. And there is some capacity. For the longest time, evaluation training has been at the lowest level. So the experts that have had evaluation expertise are those that have had international training. But for the longest time, there was no training whatsoever, any formal training in M&E. So even people who were working in M&E jobs were working in M&E jobs as M&E officers without any training. They are mainly just social scientists trained in social sciences, but no training in M&E. So if it comes to evaluation, it was very difficult for them to even draw correct TORs for evaluators, as well as even have evaluators that can undertake, especially evaluations at higher levels, such as impact evaluations or evaluations for cost and efficiency. In terms of the database, that is virtually non-existent in Zambia. The effort that has been there to have this database has been through Zamia, just through a collection of CVs for members, but that's a very, very small number of people. So that's something that we can look into. We can work in coordination with Zamia and other partners to get that done. It's a good leap forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Elizabeth. Taku, do you want to jump in?
Thanks, Piku, and thanks to Gordon for raising such an important issue. I think from my little experience, the issue is that within the public sector, the technical skills for conducting the actual evaluations is little. And most of the people that are there are able to manage and commission evaluations. So the technical skills for undertaking evaluations in the public sector might not be there. Hence, they have to rely on international experts and also people who are local in the country who have the technical expertise of undertaking evaluations, particularly individuals or consulting firms. And the other issue is that, yes, there is empirical evidence that attests to this. If you read the book that we published in 2019, Evaluation Landscape in Africa, Context, Methods, and Capacity, it does raise these critical issues. Even another book by Ian Goldman and Mine Babari also attests to the critical issue of lack of these technical evaluation skills. So this is really mainly in the public sector, although a country might have some capacity in terms of individuals and also consulting firms. That's my response to the question. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Taku. Yes, I mean, okay. Anyway, so any other questions from the participants to the speakers? I know it has been a very, it's been quite a long session. We have been together for more than an hour and a half. So it's understandable if you're tired, but if anyone has any questions, we would be happy to answer.
Can I ask a question, sir?
Yes, please go ahead, Ian.
Okay. Hello, my name is Ian Hopper. I'm sitting in Dakar. It's maybe a question and a comment. I think that we could have said a little bit more about the role of leadership and champions and people who are pushing forward these different initiatives. And we might have said a bit more also about the role of strategic evaluations. There's a lot of talk about systems and procedures and guidelines and so on. And, you know, as they say in French, l'appétit vient en mangeant. It's when you actually do it, you get the better understanding of what is the potential of evaluation. And so the role of strategic evaluations that really can give some visibility to the evaluation function, to the evaluation discipline and so on is very important as well. So I just make those 2 points. And generally, in terms of capacity, it's already been said, I think the bigger problems are the complex public policies. That's across the whole world. It's not just in Africa. I think everywhere the real problems are dealing with the complexity of public policies, particularly at this time of uncertainty and of huge, huge challenges. So just a couple of few points. We're doing a session this afternoon on the training of people for youth and child-focused programs, but that's in French. So if anyone speaks French, 3 o'clock, Ian Hopwood, just check in. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Ian. Yeah, I mean, very poignant point. I mean, we have been talking quite a lot about doing evaluation capacity assessments and national evaluation policies. But what about a situation where we can do an evaluation that is really strategic and useful and really inspires confidence in the leaders and shows them the value add of evaluation to evidence-based policy making. Great, thank you. Any more questions,
Yes.
comments? Yes, please.
Yes, Bikul, can I come in?
Yes, please do.
Okay, thank you. My question is to learn from Zambian exercise, because we are doing similar exercise in our country. I'm Sebla from Ethiopia, Ethiopia UNICEF. And what I want to learn more about this exercise, how the Zambian team managed to find enough time, governments enough time to participate in this training, because from our experience, they are very much busy and don't have enough time even to participate in the assessment. We are at the assessment stage. So how do they find, what was the challenge, and how was the relationship with the Zambian University, how they start creating this CTD activities? And one additional question is, which is the best place for VOP's Evaluation Association to play a role in NEC activity? Is it at the assessment or it's as a capacity building? I just want to learn these two things. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Seble. So I think there are two questions there. One is directed to Miss Elizabeth, and it's about how can we get greater buy-in, engagement, and participation of our government counterparts in these trainings, especially when they're busy. And then the second question is to the speakers more broadly, and it's about where is the engagement of M&E associations most useful at what stage of the NECD process? So Ms. Elizabeth, over to you for the first question.
Thank you so much. So from our experience in terms of training government officials and other government workers, the role that we have played mostly is that of working with UN agencies. Mostly, like the example I'd give is, for instance, UNDP would pay for all the expenses of the trainings, the material development, and then they'll work with government and say there's this capacity building effort, USDA will deliver it, they have developed materials. And then one of the things that would avoid in order to have them in these trainings, given their busy schedules, is to get them out of town. So the training will be staged where they can't go back to their offices, because the experience has been, if the training is, for instance, within Lusaka and you're drawing government officials from Lusaka, they won't stay in the training. So that has been quite a challenge. But if they are out of town, they'll stay in the training. So mostly we work with them, we engage them in the material development so that the materials are tailored. And most of the trainings that we do for government are tailored towards that sector. If we're doing one for energy, it will be tailored towards that. We have done a comprehensive one, which we did for the Ministry of Education. And we started at high level so that there's buy-in at high level to enable the lower level government officials and the ministry to participate. So if there is that buy-in from the high level, it makes it easier for the training to be assessed. And we do this at cascade level, starting at headquarters at province and then down to district level if we're doing the entire country. So those are the experiences I can share.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Elizabeth. So on to the next question that Seble had raised, which was about the participation of M&E associations during the NECD systems building process. At what stage should we involve them? What is the best way to engage them in this area of work? Any takers for this question? Any? If the question was not clear, I can request Seble to ask again.
Shall I?
Seble, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What I want to say is in NECD exercise, the evaluation association or M&E association can be engaged at different level. They can be engaged when we do the assessments, they can be engaged for policy lobbying, or they can be engaged in the capacity activities, capacity development activities. So from the experience, which one is the best way to influence? This is my question. Thank you.
Can I say something on that one?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've been very much involved with the Senegal Evaluation Association, and I think it depends very much on the context, and it depends upon the character of the society and its membership and so on. You might have more professionals and university people, in which case that provides the area you can operate. It might be a place where you have more government officials involved, so it gives you more opportunity to advocate then within government circles. The main thing that characterizes all evaluation associations is they have very limited resources. And if they do get support, it's for very specific projects which don't really provide them with the running costs. So they're operating on almost entirely voluntary basis. So it's a very uneven, I think, partner, a good partner, but one whose capacity will ebb and flow according to the personality of those who get elected. So I don't think there's an answer to that, but I think there has been quite a lot of effort. I mean, Candice can say this about the role of VOPEs and how they're shaping up. I think Matodzi was doing a study on that. There's been webinars and so on. So there is quite an active discussion as to what role they can play. But I think overall, with few exceptions, such as Samia, most of us are operating with very limited budgets, no really full-time staff, and therefore we're better at advocating, providing space for people to meet and exchange, opening up dialogue, promoting networking, but not necessarily always very effective in actually delivering specific services and so on. But it's not impossible. So there's a few quick reflections on VOPEs based upon our experience.
Great, thank you, Ian, for that very rich, very rich answer. Okay, so we are 15 minutes over time, so I think now is a good time to wrap the session up. In summary, I would like to say, I'd like to first of all thank all of the speakers and all of the participants for your very important and interesting contributions. I personally found this session to be very rich and very helpful for my own learning as well. We heard from diverse countries in the African continent, a few from Southern Africa, Eastern Africa, Western Africa. We heard diverse perspectives relating to the NECD space from academic institutions, M&E associations, government partners, UNICEF, and of course CLEAR. And we also got to hear about the diverse areas of NECD work that they are engaged in, whether it's building national M&E policies, developing trainings, enabling M&E associations, and so on and so forth. Of course, I think we also hopefully got a better understanding of some of the challenges that we as evaluators and the broader evaluation community face in this space with regard to building greater buy-in from our different counterparts, generating more demand for evaluative evidence at the at the different levels and so on and so forth. But I think we also got to see the various interesting and encouraging and work that is happening in this space across the region, which is very inspiring and which gives us hope that you know that we will succeed in this area, and we will have better systems for M&E. So with that, I'd like to conclude this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation and for staying a bit longer. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Don't forget the African Evaluation Journal, articles for the African Evaluation Journal, please. Thank you.